be better off without him. That's when you see very strange, erratic behavior. And there's a pattern there. We could make a list. Let's bring into the conversation member of both the Foreign Relations and Judiciary Committees, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware. Thanks very much for being with us this morning. Casey Hunt, I give the first question to you.
Senator, good to see you this morning. I want to ask you about the potential ramifications. It sounds like the Attorney General has no plans to resign. It's unclear if the president is going to go through with what he's been insinuating. But in the event that Jeff Sessions was no longer the Attorney General of the United States, what is your view of how both you as a Democrat and others in your party, but also Republicans in the Senate, based on what you've heard from your colleagues over the last 24 hours, what would the Senate do in response to that?
Well, first, I think the Senate will take action, Casey, to make sure the president can't make a recess appointment, that once we leave for our August recess or what's left of it, that the president doesn't have the opportunity to appoint someone as Attorney General without the appropriate review and consent by the United States Senate. Second, I think there's going to be widespread opposition to an abrupt firing of Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Attorneys General pledge their loyalty to the United States Constitution, not to an individual president. And President Trump doesn't seem to understand that. His repeated harassment of Jeff Sessions based on his recusal suggests he just doesn't understand that. So I think we would see strong and bipartisan resistance to the firing of Jeff Sessions, and I think the president would have great difficulty getting a successor Attorney General confirmed in the Senate without confirmation hearings, and those confirmation hearings would focus on the importance of the independence of the Attorney General, which is exactly the topic the president seems to want to avoid.
Jeremy Peters.
Senator, good morning. Well, you...
Hey, me. Yes, Joe.
Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead. Senator, good morning. It's Jeremy Peters. As you say, the Democrats will try as much as they can to block any confirmation of a new Attorney General should it come to that. However, it's my understanding that the parliamentary procedures really limit what you guys can do short of 51 votes. So it's really incumbent on the Republicans, isn't it, to block this ultimately? And would you go as far as to say to your Republican colleagues, don't confirm anyone else if Trump fires Sessions?
No, let me be clear. We're going to try and block a recess appointment. So the president can appoint someone without a confirmation hearing or a vote by the Senate during a full recess. During the Obama administration, Republicans, then in the minority in the Senate for much of it, refused to recess. So every 3 days, we would have what's called a pro forma session. That's what I think we'll block, so that there is a confirmation hearing at which I would expect Republicans and Democrats would raise tough questions about this ongoing Russia investigation, about whether the next Attorney General would agree to fire Bob Mueller, because I think that's what's really President Trump's objective here, is to put in place an Attorney General who will fire Bob Mueller.
You know, Mark Halperin, let me bring you in to ask the senator a question. But before I do, I just looked it up to see how Jeff Sessions did in 2008, because he got 97% of the vote in 2014, did not need Donald Trump. I went back and found that even in 2008, a year that Barack Obama got elected president of the United States, not a good year for Republicans, Jeff Sessions got a higher percentage in the state of Alabama in his 2008 election than Donald Trump got in 2016. This is a man, if you look at his last two elections, that is far more popular by a wide margin in the state of Alabama than is Donald Trump. And again, just doesn't need him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's got an Alabama constituency, to be sure, but he's got a national constituency with Breitbart and talk radio, and a lot of the Washington special interest groups. And he's also got a constituency in the United States Senate, where a lot of Republicans and Democrats, even ones who may not have voted for his confirmation, will side with him. You know, the president also, as he did with James Comey, is turning Sessions from an enemy in some quarters of the left to, if not quite a hero, at least someone who they are now looking to see be a martyr. Senator, I want to ask you about what you think the legalities are. Let's say the president just said, I'm firing the independent counsel. I'm going to fire Mueller directly. Do you think he could, as a matter of law, and not a matter of politics, but as a matter of law, he could do that? Or does he have to have the deputy attorney general do that?
That's correct. He cannot fire him himself. That has to be done through the Department of Justice. Since the Attorney General has recused himself from oversight of the investigation, it would have to be Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General. If the Deputy Attorney General refused to do so, it would go to his deputy and so forth, just as happened in 1974 when a series of folks resigned.
Senator, if I could ask you, because since the statutes and regulations that govern such a council are different than they were in 1974, what are you drawing on to reach that conclusion?
What am I drawing on to reach the conclusion that the president can't directly fire the special counsel?
Correct.
Well, I haven't reread the statute this morning, but it's my impression that the special counsel serves at the pleasure of the Attorney General and that there are certain standards for his removal, and that his removal is only at the pleasure of the Attorney General. I may be wrong about that. I'm happy to review the statute.
All right, Senator, let me ask you a question. I just want to, the president just tweeted, and I wanted you to help me out here. He says, Senator Lisa Murkowski of the great state of Alaska really let Republicans and our country down yesterday. Too bad. Could you just give us a sort of a lesson in politics? Does this work?
No. One of the things about this moment where the president is harassing Attorney General Sessions that is relevant here is that loyalty is an important value in politics. Senator Sessions really stuck his neck out for President Trump, really campaigned hard for him and gave him credibility in the conservative movement in the United States. And the idea that the president would personally attack the senator from Alaska, who is widely respected for her independent streak, will frankly only help her, I think, in her home state of Alaska, which has a long tradition of charting their own path and of not necessarily following any particular president or his leadership. There were lots of legitimate questions on the floor last night, not least of which what Senator McCain said in his speech about where they're going. There were 50 Republican senators who voted to get on the bill. Yeah. But then the bill that was taken up wasn't passed. 9 Republican senators voted against it. It's unclear where they're going. And I think Senator Murkowski's vote against going on the bill was because there's no clear path forward.
All right. Senator Chris Coons, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Elise, I feel like the president keeps breaking a code in Congress that is so obvious.